My internet's so slow that I even had a delay on the intro song. But what's up? Happy Tuesday. It's another episode of The Healing Home, and I'm your host, Michelle. This is episode 33, and I wasn't actually planning on going live today because Mario and I have been out of town, but we got in earlier than we thought. And so considerably earlier. Mario even brought up, he's like, why don't you just go live today? You would totally have time. And I was like, yes, that's a great idea. So here we are. And I'm really stoked to be here. And I feel very energetic considering the travel that happened. And we were up really early this morning around like 3:15 or something like that in the morning. And I've kind of been going ever since, but I feel really energized, feel supercharged after our trip. We were just down in Fresno, California, visiting Mario's family, which is always an awesome time. His family just has always been so warm and welcoming to me. I love them so much, as if they were my own family, which really they are. They've become my own family, and I feel blessed to have them in my life. I feel so grateful for them. I just always feel so loved, and it's really nice to feel the love and give the love back. So super stoked to be here. Super stoked we had a good time. It was Mario's second cousin's wedding. So Mario has a huge family. So there's lots of cousins and second cousins and aunts and uncles and all those things. So we got to see a lot of people we haven't seen in a few years. And we typically drive down there. But, Mario's parents actually, back in the Christmas time, offered to buy us plane tickets this time. And we took them up on the offer, and we typically don't fly, but we did this time, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So just more gratitude going to that, because that really helped us out with the trip and made it easier for us to get down there actually. So that was really cool. And want to, before we really get started and jump in, say thank you to all the patrons out there. You guys are really bringing lots of joy as well as support, because a lot of you have reached out to me who are patrons with messages, just, thanking me and also thanking Mario for all the information we're putting out, and you're really loving it. And so, with that said, you decided to become a patron. So that's just really freaking great, and we love it. And so I'm just I'm humbled by it, and I'm very grateful. So thank you to everyone who's doing that. If you want to, you could go to patreon.com/thehealinghome. If you want to just check out my page, you can also just follow me there if you don't feel like supporting, because I put updates on Patreon, and I do share stuff publicly, but then I also have just patrons only stuff. So check me out over there if you're interested. And let's see who's here. So Stacy Sunshine is here. What's up, Stacy? Good to see you. Venus Asteria, Estrella, I bet it is. What's up, Venus? What's up, Thunder Chicken? Nice to see you, my friend. And my man Symbolic Studies is also here. Thank you, babe. So what I'm going to do, it's going to be a casual show today because it's just me, but I figured, let's do some updates first. Let's do updates in the first half, and then for the second half, what's up, Mel? How you doing? Good to see you. And we'll do some updates for the first half, go through kind of some of the stuff that was going on, and then second half, let's do a Q&A. So as people roll in or whatever, if you have questions, feel free and throw them up in the chat. And after we do updates and stuff and chat a little bit and get some just get some preliminary stuff out there, I'll roll through the chat again, and I'll check out questions that people might have. And you can ask me. It's like we were like, should we call it an AMA? That's what Mario said it's called, an ask me anything, sort of thing, or Q&A. And I was like, well, I don't even know what an AMA is. So I bet there's a lot of other people who don't know what that is. So we decided to go with Q&A. But feel free to ask me anything, that's in a respectful manner. You know what I mean? Let's just talk about stuff, and we can ask each other questions back and forth. So let's do it. So as far as updates are concerned, as I said, we were traveling. It was awesome, great trip, and actually down in Fresno, the weather was really mild, considering we were there at pretty much the height of the summer, which we have not been back in the summertime for a handful of years because it's so damn hot down there. But it was really nice. We were in Grass Valley, which is north of Fresno, which is actually, I believe it's north of even Sacramento. So it's about a 3.5 hour drive from Fresno. So there's just a lot of shaking and moving. We were only there for about 5 days. So it was a really fast trip, but the drive was beautiful. The Airbnb we stayed at was beautiful. His sister and brother-in-law and his nieces and nephews were with us, along with his parents, which is always a good time. Had some great conversation, had a really nice place that we all got to stay in and just hang out together. So that was really cool. And always just, as I said in the beginning, I always just love being with them because they make me feel so great. And I know we all have just a really great camaraderie together. So it's super fun. And with Mario's family, we can bring things up like to a certain extent, which is really exciting, specifically with his brother-in-law. So he is more on the like conservative side, you could say, but he's open to questioning things. So we can kind of go there a little bit, which always makes the trips like super nice because you don't have to feel like you have to hold back entirely. You can bring things up and it's pretty cool. So that's always fun to be able to like share where we're at, and they're usually curious with what's going on. So that's super cool. So just the travel itself and going through an airport was pretty interesting, as it always is. And we're making more observations about airport travel and how it feels as though they're trying to make it more difficult. If it isn't already a pain in the butt to like do all the stuff, go there and it's crappy and the food's expensive, which we usually try and never partake in unless it's like, whatever. But it just the situation with it was all confusing. They changed our flight like 3 times, and then trying to ask them about it, they're like, "Oh no, man, we don't see any changes here." And it was like, whatever, dude, but it's become more and more challenging to do it. It's like they don't want people to travel. What do you know? They're just making it more annoying. But all in all, I'll say, Mario's always been a really good traveler, and I would always be on more on the anxious side when I would travel. But Mario's showed me a lot of things, how to not be as anxious. And the more we travel, the better I feel like I've gotten and we've gotten dealing with a lot of that stuff. Specifically, like we took a long trip to Europe maybe like 4 years ago now. And that being like a 5-week trip really put me through the paces. It was like major shadow work for me, actually, because I was like butted up with a lot of my own anxieties, my own programming of being anxious, all of that stuff. And I feel like doing that trip actually really broke my programming in so many ways that now traveling actually does not make me nervous anymore. I used to like really get really anxious, like days before, and then the morning of, I'd be like worried and all like frantic and shit. And I don't get that way anymore. Not even frantic, but just like in my mind, it was frantic. I was able to keep it cool on the outside, but in my mind, I'd be just like, oh my God, what if I miss the plane? What if I miss the train? What if I miss the bus? And so anyway, I feel like I've come around a lot to that kind of stuff and been able to cool it out. Mario's always helped me with that. But even like going through TSA, Mario made the comment of like, this is totally designed to feel like prison. It's crazy. Like we went through like a metal detector instead of the Illuminati triangle radiation box. And it's so crazy. It's like there's buzzing when you walk through, and then they have gates up and you put your hands up. It's very much, and I've never been to prison, but it's very much mimicking what it seems like it would be like to be in sort of like a lockdown prison sort of situation. And so we were just kind of talking about that and how fucked up that actually is, that you're paying money to do this. And sorry, I'm going to adjust my mic. As I said, this is casual. So you're paying to do this, and it's like, dude, this is like straight up prison shit. That's where my mind goes to like Prison Planet stuff, which I've kind of gotten out of the mentality that it's like a prison planet and whatever. I do still feel like there's total archons and archonic energies here that like prevent us from um or not prevent us, but they're like influence us in these ways. And I would say that the airport is totally archonic energy, like through and through. Whether you want to call it archons or you want to call it prison or you want to call it evil or you want to call it contrived or whatever you want to call it, to me, it's pretty obvious that that's what's going on. And they want you to feel like you've done something wrong already, even though you're literally just trying to get from point A to point B. So open your bags, let me pat you down and whatever. Because even when you opt out, anyone who's opted out at the airport, you're literally like taken aside and everybody's watching you, kind of like, put your hands up and they pat you down and all that stuff. And it's very prison like. And so anyway, it was just an observation that we talked about and just how ridiculous it is that they do it like that. And so anyway, it's just, it is what it is. But when you choose to fly, that's what you walk into. So you do, as Stacy is saying, she's saying, go with the flow. And it's so true. It's like, if you're going to choose to do it, then you have to go with it. And you almost have to surrender to it and be like, well, this is my choice. So I'm here by choice. So do it or don't do it at all. That's kind of the thing. So I see Moonlander's here. What's up, Tattoo Dave? Good to see you. My Cherie is here. Hello, my lady. Aloha. Open Sky is also here. Oh, thank you. Much love to you too. And glad you feel the brilliance. It feels really great. The sun is shining bright, and I feel like there's a radiance happening right now just after the travel and things like that. What's up, Sterling? Nice to see ya. Yes, it is cattle herding for sure, Stacy. That's also what it feels like. It's just, and then you have your number and your boarding pass and your flight number and this and that. And it's very similar to what I'm sure that feels like. What's up, Polymathing? Good to see you. Nice to hear your finishing work. That's always a nice feeling. So, anyway, yeah, so that was travel stuff. And one other thing that we talked about was, so most people who listen, and are following and hanging out know that we live in more of a secluded area. So, it's very quiet where we are. It's very calm, lots of wind because we live in the Columbia Gorge. But there's such a calm here that it's such a stark contrast whenever we come back from traveling, especially through an airport or a city, like a major city, that in this time, it was really obvious to both of us. Like, we just got home, put our bags down, and literally went right to the garden. And we're just in the garden and we're like here, and just took the second, took the first minute to just like do and say nothing. And it's like, holy crap, we were just bombarded with so much stuff and so much frequency. And when you're in it and you adjust to it, you kind of forget that it's happening almost, because you're adjusting, even though like, especially when you're sensitive, that like you're in a different, arena. But getting home today, it was just like, oh my God, wow, it feels so good to be home. So it feels really great to be home as usual. But yeah, just all of that stuff, the frequencies are real. And being in Fresno too, I know Mario has told me like Fresno is considered like a test city for a lot of things. So whether that be like, not saying that we were there testing EMF there, because we all know that we're like bombarded with a lot of frequency anywhere you go. But I always wonder sometimes about Fresno and these other cities that are kind of deemed like test cities or whatever. I know Portland's kind of like that too. Portland is known as a test city. So like they will crank things up super high or exaggerate things in those cities. Austin is another one that I know of. They crank it up in those cities to see how things go. And so I always wonder if like a place like Fresno, they're just maybe like higher up on the, frequency level of intensity, because it really does feel that way there. But then you're also in like agriculture, central, so it's very dusty. And then a lot of the egg, is not organic. So you're in that kind of stuff, and just all of it, it's just, it's like a bombardment on so many levels. So just to get back to the area, it was great. Before we left, there was a fire that was like 5 miles away from us to the east. And luckily it's like they've contained quite a bit of it. but the smoke has cleared quite a bit as well. So before we left, it was kind of like nerve-wracking a little bit, but at the same time knew that it was traveling east and away from us, which was good. And we had a really great buddy of ours stay. And I have to say, we came back to a garden that did not get eaten. Oh my God. And the first time I went out this summer, went to Milwaukee, and then Mario joined me. That was a longer trip. And I didn't take the same precautions for that trip with the garden as I did with this one. And we literally only lost one plant. But you know what? We kind of didn't lose it because it's right here. So, a dahlia. I planted a lot of dahlia flowers this year, and they have seriously become one of my favorite flowers, if not my favorite cut flower. But so this was the only casualty, and I bet they ate it this morning because when we got back, I could tell that the voles had just eaten the roots. See, they literally just eat like that. And I snipped part of this, but they'll just eat up until about that point, and then they just leave it. So it was on the ground, kind of wilted. So I stuck it in water, and look at her. She's gorgeous. And she just came right back. So it's like it was a loss, but considering what it could have been, it's like, it's cool. Water off the duck's back, right? So one of the things I did, and I've been using this product for the handful of years that we've been here, or the few years we've been here, but it's called Mole Max. I've heard Mary Beth Sanchez talk about it as well. And it is basically castor oil and clay. And so it's like beads, And so the combination of the castor oil and the clay, you just like sprinkle it on the garden and you water it in. And those voles and moles, they do not like castor oil. I've also planted castor bean plants around, to try and mitigate it too. And then we had Pedro like water it in every single day because the voles also don't like vibration. So if you're like not in the garden and you aren't digging, or you aren't hula hoeing, or you aren't walking around, they take it as a sign of like, oh shit, there's like open buffet here, no one's protecting it, right? And so we just had Pedro like water the whole garden every single day, plus obviously the irrigation going on. But like just hearing, them hearing the water hit the soil is enough vibration for them to know that someone's actually here, like doing something. So we'll try and stay away. And then one of our neighbors has a cat. And dude, this cat is totally stealing our hearts, mine especially. His name is Uller, and he was raised in the mountains out here. So he's been an outdoor cat since a kitten. And so he's quite a hunter. And so even like, one of the gates was left open in the garden and nothing came through and ate it. And there's been like no rabbits around because I feel like they're afraid of him because he's like a hunter cat. And I've seen him catch voles in the garden and stuff. So I think having him around too is totally a deal. So that's really cool. So yeah. Thank you to Pedro as well for doing all that stuff. And thank you to the voles for staying away. I've been trying to make a pact with these guys to stay away because they are vicious, dude. Because when I came home from Milwaukee, man, they ate like everything. I've talked about this already. But I mean, to only lose, but we didn't even really lose the plant because it's right next to me, one plant compared to like 20. And they ate like crops, dude. Like they ate food. Like, whatever. So we don't have to get into all of that. But, the castor oil for anybody out there who struggles with that, for the voles and the moles. You can also, what we also did was like bought, a big old jug of castor oil, and then you mix that with like a tiny bit of like Dr. Bronner's and water, and you do like, I don't know, maybe 2-3 tablespoons of castor oil, like a couple drops of Dr. Bronner's, and a gallon of water. And you can also like water that in, like if you plant something or you whatever, I will just like lay that solution down right after planting and then water it in. And that really helps out a lot too. So yeah, castor oil, that's always a good one. But yeah, I just want to check and see what people are saying up here. Yeah, beautiful flower. I know the dahlias. This one is super, super great. I mean, I bought just like a variety of them, the seeds. I started them all from seed, and so it's just like there's all different colors out there. There's the ones like I showed you where there's like a gradient color, and then there's just solid colors, but white, fuchsia, orange, yellow, like you name it. I just got a variety packs. And yeah, that's the beauty of flowers too. It's like just buy the variety packs. When it comes to if you want like one type of flower, buy a variety pack or something that has like variety of colors. And then it's like kind of like you don't know what you're gonna get, but you know it's gonna be beautiful. So yeah, yes, Thunder Chicken. Order some castor oil, man. It seriously helps so much. And that Molmax stuff, it's actually really safe. And I'll say Molmax is the one to get because there's another one that that company Vector, you know, that they make like mouse traps and shit. That Vector one, they put soy in theirs. So don't be fooled. Theirs has soy lecithin, you know what I'm talking about. That one has soy. So, and that one's cheaper, but it doesn't work as good. And it has soy in it. So even if you're growing organic and you're not using, if you don't have any soy in your garden, but you get that one will add soy to your soil. So just a heads up, Molmax is a little bit more expensive and they raised the price on it this season. So it used to be, you can get it on Amazon though for the cheapest. It's like 19 or 20 bucks on Amazon, but at like Ace or, you know, a Garden Supply, it's almost 30 bucks for like a 5-pound bag. Which they claim does like 50,000 square feet. You know, and anyway, just beware of that one that's Vector and read the label because that soy that's in there. I read that one day. I was like, what? They put fucking soy in this? God damn it. So, and I stuck with the Molmax because I was trying to maybe, you know, save a couple bucks. The other thing I'll say with the Molmax, mix it with blood meal. And the blood meal also helps to keep away certain critters like rabbits and stuff, but then you're also going to be fertilizing your soil while you put the Molmax in. So I'll just buy like a 3-pound bag of blood meal and then the Molmax, mix it together in a bucket and just like use a cup and sprinkle that stuff all over the garden and water it in like real good. And it lasts about 2 or 3 months out here, you know, where we have a ton of voles and moles and stuff. So I treat the soil like every 3 months. And yeah, that's a good one. So I highly recommend that that product for sure. Yeah, Open Sky castor, totally. Okay, Edgar Casey, big on castor oil. Oh, I bet, man. Yeah, I bet he was all over that. What's up, Wednesday? Nice to see ya. And yeah, so yep, multitudes of healing for castor. I know it's such a great oil to have on hand. The castor oil that they sell for the gardens, though, like we bought ones that we bought some that was for, you know, they can sell it for voles and moles or whatever. But if you're wanting to use it for your skin, buy the stuff that, you know, is like you know, made for topical application and stuff. Hey, Rose, nice to see ya. I'm so glad you're here. Good evening to you too. Let's see. Thunder Chicken. I've been trying to find a way to bond DMSO with oil. It doesn't, but I read it will with castor oil. Ah, interesting. Yeah. That's a good question about bonding that with oil. Cause I know like, yeah, like some people make like face creams and stuff. So if they make like a cream, they're probably the DMSO is probably subbed for like the aloe or something, or the hydrosol that you would use to make like a face cream. I have yet to make like a DMSO cream or whatever. So yeah, that would be cool. I'd love to hear what you learn about combining them. What's up, Mary Beth? I was just talking about Molmax and castor oil and all that stuff and mixing Molmax with blood meal and the successes I've had with that. So I'm glad you're here because I've heard you talk about Molmax. We talked about Molmax a little bit and it's like, I'm not endorsed by them, obviously. Geez. But yeah, no, it's a great product. And I was warning people of the soy that's in one of the other brands that's similar and it's made by Vector, and they add soy to their mix. And I was telling people just be caution of that and go with the Molmax, spend a little more money. It's worth it because the soy, not so good. What's up, Sarah G? Good to see ya. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so the Molmax, very you know, very, very successful this trip, this vacation. So that was great because I also prepared myself to come home to what I did when I was out in Milwaukee in June, that they could demolish everything and whatever. So I already like went in knowing that I could come home and that was the deal. but it wasn't. And I'm so freaking glad. And so that was awesome. And oh, Pedro, you're here, dude. Yes. Yes, glad the voles didn't take over. Yes, dude, you did a great job, and I knew you would. And I'm so grateful that you watered, dude, because it totally I credit my lack of deodorant. Nice, dude. Hell yeah. Well, whatever you did, it worked, and I'm freaking grateful as always for you and your willingness to hang out while we are away. Is super awesome. And I don't know if you were here in the beginning or if you're watching, you might just be like driving around, but this was the one flower that they ate. But dude, look, they didn't take it away from us because it's right here. I just threw it in some water and she's like lovely and thriving inside. So anyway, yeah, those are the updates for garden stuff. And then, I just went out in the garden today because I was like, all right, well, if no one shows up today, which is always a possibility, or no one has questions, what else am I going to talk about, And so I just like laid my ass down in the garden and closed my eyes and like just meditated and let the stream come through. And one of the things that came to me was like the guardians of the garden. And garden as a word, you have guard in the beginning of the word, and then you have en, but there's like this inwardness too, the guard in the garden is so real and it's so crucial. And Mario and I were talking about this, but then he brought up like the secret garden and how it's like looked at as a sanctuary. And when I was laying in there, I was like, whoa, dude, I feel so effing safe in here. It's so beautiful. And just feeling that safety and feeling that protection that is in the garden and feeling the plants being happy that we were back and just like tuning into that. And I was like, whoa, dude, the guardian of the garden. And so we had Pedro as our guardian of the garden this time. We have the spirits of the plants that in their own way provide guardianship. The fence provides guardianship, obviously. And then as I was talking about Uller Cat, he is a guardian of the garden. And I always do this practice with myself. And when we go out of town, I envision it might sound corny or like new agey or whatever, but I don't really care because I don't look at it that way. I always envision a golden ring of protection around the house, around the property, and around the garden. And so I envision this in my head of just like, dude, it's cool. Like it's protected. You're good. The golden ring is intact. And I literally like go around the property in my mind's eye and like connect the golden rings and see the golden rings close. And, some people would say, oh, you're just telling yourself there's a golden ring or whatever. But honestly, it's the intention of it, of just like, no, there's a golden ring of protection around that, man. It's going to be good. And I feel like once I started, allowing myself to be more in tune with that and doing that practice, and I've been doing that for a long time, I do it even around myself or around our bedroom or whatever, around other people who might need extra, protection or whatever. It's like, dude, that stuff is the real deal and it works. And I did that this time, and I always do it. So it was really cool just to see like all the added steps that we took, all the lessons I learned from the first time. I applied the lessons instead of just like being pissed off that, still being angry that they ate everything or whatever. It's like, you got to get over it. Don't be angry, just learn from it. And so it was cool just to see like the lessons that we learned, the things I applied actually worked. And so it's just kind of like that, seeing the change happen after you integrated something and then you made the change and then it actually came to fruition. And that's like the beauty of life, I think. And that's like what you have to do in order to keep going. So yeah, the sanctuary part of it, and just like that importance of letting go, which I've talked about before, of like some of the best advice. I put a garden update on YouTube. It's on my channel. While we were out of town, we recorded it before we left. And I think I talked about it in the garden update video, but the importance of letting go as soon as you plant something. And that's honestly been some of the best freaking garden advice I've been given. Besides, a lot of technical things or things I've learned from other people. That bit of advice has been so valuable and crucial in my life in general, but also with the garden, because it's like anything can happen. You name it, weather, critters. You can kill a plant, by trying something or hula hoeing it up and being like, oh crap, okay, oops. So it's just like the importance of that, and knowing like as soon as you put it in the ground, just like let it go. Okay, now it is like up to the universe. It's up to the plant gods and goddesses to let it be what it's going to be. And that's been super valuable. So I had that in mind as we traveled this time, because yeah, it just it would have not been fun, but it was a possibility. So that is what's going on with all of that. So yeah, if you guys have questions, go ahead and throw them up, because those are pretty much my updates. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Mario, he's going to be on Old World Florida next week, Monday again. So that's really freaking exciting. Him and Old World Florida, they really hit it off, man, and it's really cool. So I feel like that's really exciting. I know he just got invited on one-on-one next week as well again. So he'll be doing that next week. So yeah, if you guys are into checking up with what they're doing, I don't know what they're going to be talking about just yet, but I know that he's going to be on next week, Monday. Don't remember the date, but he'll be posting all that stuff. So you guys can check him out on there. And what's up, Brandon? Good to see you. Yes, Venus says, I put protection around my son and his fiance as they traveled to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan the 4th of July, and they were surrounded with ravens the whole time. Oh, interesting. Yeah, dude, the ravens, what I've heard too is like, if there is someone or something trying to, like either contact you or work with you on the astral or like through divination, the ravens will be there. The ravens will show up. I've heard that. And you just proved some of that, because, you were working with them on the astral to send out waves of protection. And so the ravens were there and they were like, oh, what's up? Someone called. And yeah, so that's really freaking cool. The ravens are super connected, and yeah, whoa, that's awesome. So I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see. Okay, Mary Beth says, your garden tour is wonderful. Thank you. Do you have any new plans for this besides making the Hugel culture beds? Thank you for asking that. Yes. Okay, let's see. Any other plans? Well, the biggest plan for me is we're going to finish the fence. Well, finish the dead hedge. That dead hedge is just going to be constantly a thing. But what I really want to do, make sure this fall, is build it up enough where it's almost to the top of what we want to add, and then start adding like compost to the top, so that I can start planting in it. Because that's the cool thing with that fencing, is that because it all breaks down, and I've begun to like stuff like trimmings, like I trimmed the grapes before we left, and I just shoved the grape trimmings like in the fence. I had some other, plants that I had to trim back, some blackberry and bramble that I trimmed back, and I just started shoving it into the dead hedge fence, and it's going to just start composting itself. So that is definitely one thing. We're going to try other raised bed methods as well. So I think we'll probably try like a garden box on one of the beds. I also want to keep one of the beds just like on the ground regular and just keep experimenting and see what happens. Cause I look at life as like kind of a grand experiment, because I think in some way we're part of a grand experiment. And so when I think of the garden, I'm just always like, all right, we got to continue doing this experiment, because that's what life's about. Some of the other things I want to do is I want to experiment with using hay and covering the actual soil, and using also the like leaves. And there's so much pine needle around us, that I want to kind of make some sort of compost or some sort of garden dressing with that, and actually cover the soil, because I totally know that, the exposed soil isn't the best thing. It's just kind of like what we've been doing, since we moved in. And so anyway, if anybody out there has suggestions on that, I know there's all sorts of opinions: wood chips, hay, the yard trimmings and all that stuff. So that's definitely one, because I really want to protect the soil a little bit more. And because we irrigate it, and we have to pay for water overages, which in the summer we always go over our water ration because it's just how it is. There's a lot of stuff to water. I just really think that obviously covering it is going to mitigate the amount of water we even have to use as well. So those are some of the plans for next year for sure. And I want to get a little bit more educated with like Matt Powers and his method and what he does with his permaculture. So he does cover crop on everything. So I might do like one of those beds, do his method with cover crop, and try that out, and then try hay in some of them, and try doing a raised bed. And then I always mess up how to say that other method. Hugel culture. So doing hugel culture. And I also, one last thing, ambitious, but you just got to go for it. I want to make a spiral herb garden. I have wanted to make one of those since I first started studying herbalism, because just seeing people's freaking like plots and garden, and how you can like actually build like a mound and then go in a spiral pattern and just plant upward up to the spiral and do herbs throughout. I really want to do that, which is very close to the hugel culture, because it's like you're building the base. So it's basically that, and you're mounding it so high. So, but I just want to try and do a spiral of some kind. So that will be fun. And yes, Matt Powers, I really want to interview him. I just have to get on the email horn and ask him to come on, because he's great. Flat Earth Hippie asks, how is your electroculture experiment going? It's going great. I will say that I didn't do as much as I wanted to. So I did not do, so like what I really wanted to do is do the whole system where you run the galvanized wire like under the ground and connect magnets to it, like north south, and then post that up with like metal stakes, and then doing the copper antennas throughout the garden. I didn't do the grounding part, just didn't get around to it this year. So that aside, I will say I'm doing right now, specifically with my cannabis plant, I have the electroculture antenna super close to it, and that is the cannabis plant that's doing the best. It's the healthiest. It's the most vibrant. And I'll say that I'm noticing a difference also since I added a really tall antenna. It's probably 8 feet tall, and it's like a tree. It's a small tree. It's a small maple that we cut down that was actually in the garden. It was like creating too much shade. We cut that down, and I made that into an antenna. And that is drawing in a lot of really great energy, and I can feel it. And it's in the center. It's like in the middle of the garden, but like in the back of the garden, but it's still like in the center area. And so really that's making a big difference. And then I also have an electroculture antenna that's like right within the rose bush, and our roses are going nuts. I mean, obviously the roses haven't budded or anything yet, but it's like growing like crazily. So I'll say I'm having success, but I'll say that I did not get to do as much as I wanted to, like initially, but there's always next year. So I do really want to try the grounding aspect of it. Doing that. I like the idea of the galvanized wire with the magnets coated in beeswax, and really trying to like hone in on that. So that'll be really fun. So we'll see what goes on. Brandon Stark, Spiral Herb Garden sounds awesome. Could incorporate mushrooms if you mount high enough. Yes, totally could. And I think that's one of the benefits of the hugel culture method too, because you're using wood as your base, right? And so if you were able to like layer wood and then like the leaves and the mulch and then the dirt and compost, and then maybe add another layer of wood or logs or whatever it might be, and then you could even inoculate it. You could get some spores or something like that. I don't know too much about growing on wood or whatever. I would just experiment with it, but that's a great idea, because you could probably just do that like throughout the top of the spiral, or even have like wood that borders the spiral, and somehow try and incorporate mushroom spores to inoculate, or just see what grows naturally. Because that's also what I'm excited about the dead hedge fence, is that I think that we're going to get like mushrooms growing on that thing, and fungus, usnea. There's already usnea on there, but I think the usnea that's there that dries over the summer will just be revitalized over the winter, and that kind of thing. So that's really cool. And yeah, that would be really fun to try and do the mushrooms. So I'm super glad you guys liked the garden tour. That the other reason I'll be honest, I wanted to do it before we left because I knew there was a possibility that we'd come home and it would just be like demolished. So I'm grateful we had time to record it, because I was like, dude, we have to do this before we leave, because I know the chances of us coming home and it being like, no. I mean, I could have still done a garden tour, if the voles would have eaten half of our stuff. But yeah, I mean, that would have been fine, I guess. But it's really nice to see it right now, because it is really thriving. Oh, one of the things I wanted to bring up about the garden too are the poppies. Oh my God. They are seriously the biggest they've been out of the years we've grown them, and they look so great. And that was one of the things, like I laid right next to the poppies, and oh my God. When we were in the garden this morning, when we got home, there were 3 bumblebees in one poppy flower, and they're huge. The flowers are just huge. And there's 3 of them in there, and they're just like going crazy. Like there was almost like this extra, they had like some extra vibrancy to them. And we were just tripping out thinking like, oh man, like there's got to be something obviously a little bit more fun about the poppies with them, or something like that. Cause they were just going nuts, dude. I had never seen just like 3 of them all in one flower, just like really like just ravenous almost. So that was really cool. And now we're kind of moving more into flower season, like, more cut flowers, the bigger flowers are kind of starting to go. So the bees and the pollinators are really, really vibing right now. So that's super cool. But yeah, so that's cool. And let's see. Turkey Tail loves old wood piles. Yeah. So we're gonna do that. I hope to get some Turkey Tail on the dead hedge. I think we will for sure. All right. So let's see. My Cherie is, I think, probably telling Polly, maybe polymathing that 3 p.m. Eastern time, Old World Florida will be talking with Justin Harvey. Is we are Change Orlando. Stop the GMO mosquitoes being released in the wild. I did see that come past my YouTube recommendeds. Dude, the mosquitoes were really bad down in California. And yeah, that's weird. And then they even had in the airport, they had one of the screens. Do you remember Zika virus or whatever? And they had mosquitoes on the screen and everything. And yeah, you could just tell it's just like all propaganda, and this is totally a thing. Oh, and one of the other things because we were at Mario's parents' house, and parents, boomers, whatever you want to call them. Not everybody's parents is a boomer, but ours happened to be, and that's cool. It's all good, but some boomers are just very set in their ways, and they just love their news, and they love their this and their that. And so whenever we go home, either to my mom's house or Mario's parents' house, we watch the news because they have it on. They just can't live without it, right? And one of the local towns in California near Fresno was talking about how now they're spraying for mosquitoes. So they're doing active spraying in, God, I wish I could remember the name of the town. But I want to say Centralia, but I could be totally wrong on that. So don't even quote me, whatever. It's just some town in the Central Valley that has really, really bad mosquitoes for some reason. And yeah, they're spraying a pesticide around the lake where they are finding the mosquitoes. And they're talking about how much fucking money they're spending on this pesticide and how much they've had to spend this year, and oh, we're over budget and whatever. But they're actively they're aerial spraying this town in California. And so my first thought was, well, there you go. They're just going to actively be able to poison us more because they're going to make an excuse that, oh, well, the mosquitoes are so bad now we have to spray to get rid of them or whatever. So that's a thing. So beware, and be just know that that's happening. So it might not be happening in your town or around where you live, but it's happening somewhere, but it could happen. So know that, like, that's now their new excuse to be able to spray more shit all over us, is these mosquitoes. So as soon as I saw that news story, I was like, oh dude, well, that's the thing. They're wanting to poison us. And then I'm so glad people are now talking about it more, at least on my feed it's coming up. But this whole A peel thing with the organic produce, that they're going to start coating the fruits and the vegetables, specifically organic ones, with this A peel shit, which seems to me to be some sort of derivative from um, oil production, like seed oils or cooking oils, vegetable oils. That's what it seems like to me, that what mostly it's made of, even though they're not telling you what's in it. The only thing they list on the ingredients is citric acid. And the guy I was listening to was talking about the citric acid is the only reason they can call it organic, because if they're using organic citric acid, they can label it organic, but the rest of it is not going to be organic. And you can't wash it off. And they're telling people that it's going to preserve your food longer and it's going to retain the moisture and everything else. But you want to know what? Already, the way that they store most produce in stores is backwards. So they put cucumbers in the cold section, where it's like, I've just learned this because I changed the way I store cucumbers. But if you store cucumbers in the refrigerator, they don't last as long. But if you keep them on the counter, and what I do is I just roll it up in a piece of like paper towel or like something like that. And dude, it lasts weeks on the counter. Like, it lasts like 2 weeks, because if you have a cut on the cucumber, it'll just dry up and it actually creates like its own skin, so it protects itself. But if you throw it in the refrigerator, it won't last that long at all. And so there's all these little things about how they even store fruit and vegetables in the store that are all backwards. But now they're going to start applying this A peel stuff, and they're going to tell you that, it's going to last longer or whatever. And so I know that, Mr. Gates is one of the main funders, they're saying, and what have you. So we always know that that's some sort of, like a poisoning agenda, if that's what's going on. So just be aware. They do have to label the fruit and vegetables, though. They're saying that there will be a sticker on it, but we all know, don't worry, I'm not trying to signal or anything, but, even if they put a sticker on it, we know that they can also just apply it and then they make up their own rules. So what's to say that they aren't going to just start putting this on there and conveniently not label it? And then we're eating this crap, which is basically, not good for you. And I think what one of the agendas is we know that obesity is a thing, especially in the United States. And I think it's going to be a means to keep people fatter, because, no offense, but it's just like, okay, I'm eating my vegetables, I'm starting to eat healthy. Why am I gaining weight? Why do I keep gaining weight? Well, what puts on weight? Shitty oils, seed oils, soy oil, all these crappy oils that are just not made well. That's what they're using to coat this stuff with, dude. And this stuff messes with your hormones and all of it, and I wouldn't put it past them that it is actually like a plastic derivative or some kind of whatever. And so anyway, the whole thing is just another assault. And just beware. If you haven't heard of it, more people are starting to talk about it, which is cool. So Venus is asking, I was wondering if y'all smoke your tobacco or do you just use it ceremonially? We are going to smoke some of it. Neither of us smoke tobacco like on a regular basis or anything. And to be honest, tobacco sometimes makes me feel a little headachy. But I want to experiment with it after growing it myself and see what goes on. And I know Mario is excited for the same. What I'm really excited about for the tobacco, though, is to share it with friends who do smoke tobacco, because we have a handful of friends who smoke tobacco that roll their own cigarettes. But also, I want to use it in salves and oils, and I want to try and tincture it as well. And I just want to watch it grow because I'm very fascinated with the pattern it grows in. As I said in the garden update, like it looks a lot like mullein. And I think this tobacco will have like a pink flower on it, but it has that same like shape like that mullein does. And then it has the same stalk that produces a pink flower, maybe sometimes white. But anyway, pretty sure the variety that I got, it has a pink flower on it. And yeah, so I will also be using it as an offering for plants, because um, if you go and harvest, I usually use my hair as an offering, but I find that tobacco is a really nice offering to leave and be able to have some around to leave at the mountaintop, as well as an offering. So it's going to be ceremonially, I think, mostly because we're not really big tobacco smokers. But like I said, I want to share it with friends too, because I think too, like being able to somehow, I'm not a spleef smoker or a blunt smoker by any means, but it would be fun to try and harvest some leaves and keep them fairly whole, and try and be able to create some sort of rolling paper, so somebody who does like smoking spliffs can do that. So anyway, that's my plan for the tobacco. But our good friend Christy, who for people who listen regularly, I interviewed her handful of weeks ago, but she actually posed an idea for using tobacco in a salve. And that is what I'm mostly excited about. And shout out to Mary, Blades of Grass, who she might be listening. She sent me a beautiful salve from Christie's shop that actually has tobacco in it. And I've been using it and I've been freaking loving it. And so if you're listening, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been really great and awesome. So I'm going to experiment with it on a medicinal level for sure. And yeah, what's up, King of Cups? Good to see you, Chris. So glad you're here. Flat Earth Hippie says, what's up, Hank? You're one on my list for sharing tobacco with, by the way. Refrigerator is a dehydrator. Yep, totally is. And you can tell. It's creepy. Yep, Apeel. Apeel. What the hell is going on with that? Yeah. Yep, planned obsolescence. You're right, Dave. Totally. What the heck? I mean, it's just like, to me, it seems like a really strange move, but at the same time, as usual, you got to hand it to them because they figure out some way to adulterate some brilliant thing from nature that needs nothing and they put something on it or they do something to it to make it seem like it's better. So yeah, I would have to agree, because if it's not able to breathe either, what good is that? Or like, I think some of these fruits and vegetables, obviously, like with a cucumber, let's go back to cucumbers. If you have a cucumber that's wilty or something, like maybe you've had it on the counter and it got a little bit past its, fun stage, you can literally take preferably distilled water or reverse osmosis water or spring water. Just get a bowl of it, nice cold spring water, and put your cucumber in there. Your cucumber is going to absorb that water and it will plump back up and it'll be delicious. I've done that before. And so it's just like, that's the thing. So if there's like some peel on it, some, whatever type of peel, it's not going to be able to absorb the water. And it's not going to be able to have the exchange, just like our skin. It needs to breathe. If you're putting a bunch of stuff on it that doesn't allow it to breathe, bad things happen, right? Just like anything, And so I think it's an interesting thing. That's why I think it's a good point that you say that, Dave, Moonlander, that it's planned obsolescence for the produce, because I haven't even thought of that like as the thing. But you're totally right. They're going to tell people it's going to make it last longer, but it's actually probably going to like starve it of oxygen and moisture that it actually needs to just like survive regularly. I know like one of the vegetables that they talked about that's going to be hit heavy with it is asparagus for whatever reason. Asparagus was one of the vegetables that they talked about was going to be heavy. Limes, lemons, avocados was another one that they talked about was going to be hit heavy with the A peel. So anyway, that's how it goes. What's up, Branch? Good to see you. Nice that you're here on a Tuesday. Yes. Okay. Tobacco being one of the best natural pesticides. Bugs hate it. Yes. My friend of mine was telling me that. And thank you for reminding me, because that's another great way to do it. And okay. I have a question. So I composted. Okay. So I've talked about this, but we were gifted like an abundance of cannabis plants this year, like way too much that I wasn't able to grow. Gave out a lot of them to friends, but I had like two or three of them that were left over. And I composted them. I put them back to the mother. But what I did was I wanted to create my own fertilizer with it. So I just took a 5-gallon bucket, filled it with unchlorinated water, and then I chopped up all the plants and I put them into the bucket, and then I covered the bucket. And I did this before we left because I was researching how to maybe basically make, obviously it's kind of like a compost tea, but I didn't add compost, but letting it sit. Does anyone out there have experience doing that? I was reading a couple articles. Some people say to leave it, put mesh over it so air gets in there. Some people have said just cover it with a lid. I did that. So I'm experimenting, but it's going to be for the cannabis specifically, but also all the plants. So anyway, if anyone has tips on doing that or experience, we could talk about that a little bit. But I've got some tobacco leaves that are towards the bottom of the plant that I'm going to chop off. And then I think I'm just going to throw in there. And I'm just going to start throwing in if there's any, weeds that I pull or any things that I cut back. I think I'm just going to chop it up and put it in that bucket. And I'm just going to start creating multiple buckets like that and then see how much natural fertilizer I can just produce. So yeah. Any experience with that would be lovely. Yes. Okay. So Polymathing says, I trade fungi for tobacco with a few older native ladies I know. Use it for offering along with hair as well, a prayer and sometimes a song. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. Oh my God. That's awesome. Is tobacco an astringent? Good question. I don't know 100%, but something in me says yes. But that's a guess, and that's intuition. I don't know. I know it's clearing. It's very clearing. So that the salve that I've been using that has the tobacco in it is literally it's a Swedish salve, which is awesome too. So another point scored for Mary there because I'm Swedish. And when I saw that label, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So it's it opened a whole new gateway for me of medicine that I'm like, oh shit, I got to tap into this, this industrious way to use more Swedish, more of my Swedish heritage with the herbal side of things, because it's one of the things I haven't really done as much. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, cool, man, this is awesome. So anyway, it's really cool. But I don't know if it's an astringent, but I would bet it might be, because I wonder if there's tannic acid in it. Usually stuff with tannins in it is acidic, or not acidic, astringent. So yes. Let's see. Funny, Longo was talking about smoking tobacco recently as well. Yes, Polly's gifting it to his wild things in his area, so that's cool. Yeah, I would suspect anti-parasitic properties in tobacco as well. That would go along with it being obviously a pesticide, as you know. Yes. Yes, Hank. Oh, I'm glad you're growing it as well. Well, what else do you use it for, Hank? Don't take tobacco internally, he says. All right, that's a good tip. So yeah, I'd love to share ours with you. Thunder Chicken says, I have Hopi heirloom tobacco seeds, but I didn't get around to planting them this year. Yeah, well, save your seeds, dude. That's awesome. Oh my God, they're so tiny. They're like the tiniest seeds ever. They started really well in trays. So just that was my experience, just starting them in trays and then planting them out. They did really well as starts, actually, I'd say. Venus asks, do you think having long hair increases your psychic power and your ability to communicate with your guardian? Yes. Yes, I do. I totally do. I'm totally of real gal. And for anyone out there who doesn't know what the who the Vril or who the Vril Society is or what they deemed to be Vril, they Vril to them was basically the ether. And so the Vril Society, they believed that, and they did, they had long, long hair. I mean, like down to their ankles, down to past their bums, and they believed that their hair acted as an antenna and helped them to actually channel. They were channeling with beings from the star Aldebaran, which I have a kinship with Aldebaran. I feel as though I have some sort of like ancestral connection to that star in some way. But yeah, I definitely feel that. And I've had my hair long now for probably, I don't know. I mean, I've had my hair long throughout my life, but this is I would say, I've had it long for maybe about 6 years now. And that's like the longest span of time that I've had my hair like super long. And I definitely notice a difference. I for sure notice a difference. And I even notice a difference when I get like the intuitive hit to like put my hair down. Because in the summer I wear it up a lot, and I'll all of a sudden be like, just kind of get like a voice is like, put your hair down, and I'll put it down. And I usually get like really good insights at that point or at that time or something like that. And who knows, it might be placebo, but I don't think it is. I think that it's a thing. And I think that even with the men with beards and long hair as well, I think like there's like that attachment to the wizard having a long beard for a reason, because he's wise and he's able to go inward and he's able to channel and he's able to have inward thought that's very productive. And I think that lends credit to the like the psychic ability or just the intuitive sense, or even just like your ability to like tap into your own self a little bit better, like using your hair as a guide or something like that, has been a beautiful thing that I really like to do. Thank you again, Hank, for saying don't take tobacco internally. Like you mean as a tincture, probably, or something, because obviously people like smoke it, and that's internal. But I bet, like, yeah, maybe a tincture, not the best thing. Yes, replumping with distilled water. Yeah, it's a great way, especially for cucumbers. That I know for sure. They love it, actually. Okay, yes, it'll cause a rapid heart rate, Thunder Chicken says. Okay, cool. Good to know. So no tinctures, no tobacco tincture. Just gonna do the oils probably and see what happens. Let's see. Anybody else? Sterling says in Peru there are shamans who specialize in tobacco healings. Oh yes, totally. Very sacred plant. I mean, it seriously is something special. And just growing it. It has such a freaking presence. It's really cool. Dr. Ardis, who spoke of the venoms in the vac, suggests nicotine to counter the poison. Interesting. Okay. That's cool. Snorting tobacco juice. Interesting. Is that for real or not? That's fucking crazy, kind of. That would be nuts, I bet. All right. Let's see. Thanks for hanging out, guys. This is awesome. I'm really glad that I just decided to do a casual show. It's fun to do those sometimes. Let's see what Sarah G says, 'cause she's got a lot of wisdom. Tobacco works wonders on bee/wasp stings. Perhaps astringent makes sense. So there's there's your answer to the astringency. Yeah, so it tightens. So that's really great because I have a pulling salve, like a bug salve or like a venom salve. Um, I wonder if that would be good for that, and if it could be an antidote. If it's an antidote for poison, it would probably be really great in like a pulling salve or something like that. Yep. Okay. Quick search says smoking tobacco is astringent. That's good to know. And yeah, cool. Mary Beth says, I would caution against using the nicotine insecticide around the garden if you have bees. It is not bee friendly. It's actually banned as a pesticide because it's extremely toxic. Oh, okay. That is really good. I'm leaving this on the screen for a while. So If you haven't heard that, that's a really good one. And the other thing, a friend of mine told me that if you spray it on to I was going to say tobacco. If you spray it on tomatoes, it can actually cause blight in tomatoes. So, as usual, test out your stuff. And as we're talking about that, I didn't bring it in here with me, but I ordered a sample of the amazing Dr. Zymes, the enzymes for it helps with keeping away bugs, all sorts of bugs, and funguses and powdery mildew. I sprayed that on the garden as well before I left as like another protection thing going on. And dude, I mean, we had little tiny bugs like on the mullein. If anyone who grows mullein or has mullein growing around them ever notice that there's really little tiny bugs that find their way into the cone, the flower cone. I don't know what the deal is, but they love that. And I sprayed the amazing Dr. Zymes on the mullein and on the other plants around, especially like the cabbages and stuff too, because I was noticing that something was eating the cabbages and nothing's eating it anymore. And I got rid of those black bugs on the mullein. So that stuff is really great. So I'm probably going to go ahead and buy a bigger bottle because I just ordered the sample just to try it out. But that stuff's amazing. And I know Mary Beth works with it. And so they're the people at Growcast. So yeah, that's awesome. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Been working on it for a long time. The hair. Yeah. And I'm so witchy. Well, thanks. I feel like it's I don't know. I just like this natural thing. Because there's this thing about like the witchy aesthetic. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there, like especially on like Instagram and like, oh, the witchy aesthetic, and but they're not actually like just doing the work that comes along with like kind of just getting in the rhythms of nature and stuff. And I think that there's folly in that because it becomes this like fashion show instead of an actual like real, like what is a real witch? A real witch probably doesn't really care about eyeliner and stuff, or like if their pentagram necklace is showing, they actually care about like their work in with the earth, and they care about the cycles of the earth, and they have intention and all that kind of stuff. So it's really funny, like just the image of the witch that we all have, especially in pop culture and Hollywood and stuff. It's really interesting. And I think that when you meet a real witch, you realize that they don't need to have like the hat or what have you and all that stuff, because I feel like there's all different types of witches too. And it's really beautiful. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. Um, Okay, the branch says he gets epiphanies in the shower. I think that the long hair allows this to happen more easily. I could see that because you're cleansing it. So you're cleansing yourself, you're cleansing your hair. And that would make sense to me. That would totally make sense to me. All right. Flat Earth Hippie. Besides smoking 2 to 3 hand-rolled cigarettes a day, I leave it as an offering when crafting. Yep, mugwort comes to mind. Yep. A lot of people. That's why I've heard how a lot of people use tobacco actually is as an offering. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Let's see. Stacy Sunshine. I feel the same way about my longer hair, Michelle. I don't like pulling it up, and it's so hot. Yes, I even get a better bong rip with my hair down and loose and long. Dude, hell yeah. That's funny because a lot of times when I get the urge to put my hair down, it's while I'm stoned. That's a great point. That's a great point. That green goddess, she's like she's enchanting you and telling you to like let it flow, right? And just like let it go. Let it rip. Let's see. Okay, the branch always brings it with the biblical knowledge. There was a vow in the Nazarite in the Bible that you had to not cut your hair, drink wine, and had to be celibate. Wait, I'm going to read that again. That you had to not cut your hair, drink wine, and had to be celibate. Okay, I like that. I know the hair is a thing. The hair is real. The hair is a real thing, with the length being valuable. And you can look that up in history. Look at old Victorian photos. That's another thing. If you just like look up old Victorian hair photos and see the women that have the super long hair that is like hanging down. There's also a current page. I think they are on Instagram. They also, I think, are on YouTube. The Real Rapunzel. The Real Rapunzels. And it's a bunch of women who, share their hair tips And they have videos about hair care and what have you, and just talking about the importance of hair and having long hair, and how you can keep it healthy and looking really great. So the Real Rapunzels, check them out if you're interested in that. Flat Earth Hippie says, "Don't eat it, snort it. Snort it is sketchy." That, yeah, I don't think I'd want to do that either. It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound fun. Um, yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then a good comment about tobacco smokers being resistant to COVID. So my apologies if I missed that one. But yeah, that was a whole campaign thing. That was a whole thing. They were telling people to smoke cigarettes. If you smoke cigarettes, you'll be more you're resistant to COVID. But it probably wasn't. Obviously, the Marlboros aren't going to like really. I mean, they'll help, I guess, because it's tobacco. Obviously, can't speak for what they add to it. But yeah, so it's like probably in reality, it was actual just natural tobacco, not encouraging people to go buy more Marlboros, or that's what they were doing. But like in reality, they should have just gotten natural tobacco probably. So yeah. Oh, Brandon is also growing tobacco this year. I think my urge to smoke goes down when touching the leaves, especially when ripe. Aha. Do you think that's because you feel the life force in it? Or what do you think that's about? Why do you think that your urge to smoke it goes down when you're around it or when you touch the leaves? I could see that. It's a very vibrant, like very luscious, I find is the word for tobacco, to describe tobacco is luscious. My Sherry says my hair grows super fast. I could easily grow it to my ankles, but I keep it to my waist. Ah, dude, waist is great. That's awesome. I'd love to see your hair all full and down and things like that. That's awesome. Mine is I don't remember how long mine is now. It's to the middle of my back right now. I did cut it like maybe in the middle of winter. I did a pretty big cut. I cut like 6 or 8 inches off. Just, clean it up, whatever, and just give it some buoyancy and that kind of stuff. And I do that maybe like once a year sometimes, and sometimes I don't. But once a year, I usually do like a decent cut. But there's also women that they never cut it. They say they just never cut it and leave it, and that's fine too. But yeah, Stacy Sunshine likes to get hers. I'd like to get mine past my waist. It seems to like to stop around her waist. Yeah, interesting. That's the other thing too. Sometimes it just stops. Yep, Pedro. He says, I miss my long hair and beard. I'll grow it back one of these days. Yeah, when I first met Pedro, he had long hair. And I think you also had a beard then too. You will. And you wear it well. So that's awesome. And Mario just shaved he didn't have a beard. He had a goatee, but he shaved it clean. He looks really good when it's shaved clean. And he has buzzed hair, and he still has quite the intuition on him. So it's interesting. I just think that, but I do think that the hair increases it. Just saying. Let's see. Oh, Branch does not drink the wine. That makes sense. When I read that, I thought, oh, really? Okay. But that makes sense that to not drink wine. That makes sense. Yep. The neutral henna tip was fire, says Sarah G. Yep. Thanks for saying that. That stuff is awesome. It's called Cassia Ulvatum. And then I know Cassia is also cinnamon. But yeah, neutral henna for people who want to strengthen their hair. It helps it grow. It makes it super shiny. If you have blonde hair, it will give it, depending on how long you keep it in your hair, it will totally give it like sort of like more of like a golden hue, or like a strawberry blonde hue. But I love it. I just did a treatment before we went out of town, and it really makes such a big difference. Makes your hair nice and thick too. And really just like nourishes your scalp. Shout out to our friend Carolyn. She like turned me on to that. She was for about a good year. She was trying to convince me to use it. And I was like, I don't want to color my hair. Blah, blah. She's like, no, it doesn't color it. It can turn it a little bit more strawberry blonde or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I finally did it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I was like, holding back from this. But if anyone wants to know more about that, you could check out my herbal and natural hair care video that I did. I did a live stream a few months ago on that, and I talked about that. But yeah, I'm glad it worked for you, Sarah, because it's a commitment, because you have to like make the paste and put it in. It's like you're basically like putting mud or clay in your hair and letting it sit on there. So you have to just be willing to do that. It's kind of messy, but it's totally worth it. Totally worth it. So yeah, Thunder Chicken. I never caught the vid. I smoke. Just saying. Yep. Gotcha. I believe it. Okay. I never did either. I don't smoke either. And I don't know. I don't think anybody caught anything. I think it's all a scam anyway. But people who notice, if you notice the patterns in yourself and you can confirm some of this stuff through that, that's awesome. So that's just going to help even more people. So, yes. Yeah. So any more, if anybody has, oh, Mary Beth's been doing her red hair with henna for years. Yeah. And you have beautiful hair. I mean, I've only seen your photo on, I see your hand or your avatar here, but your photo on the Growcast, I was like, damn, she's got a nice shade of red there. And so, yeah, the henna, it's great. Especially, yeah, if people have dark hair, oh my God, you can get really creative with the shades too. And you could add different things to make custom shades. Like you can use indigo. I know that you can sometimes add indigo, which will make it a little bit more on the purpley side. But depending on like what you're going for, if you have like dark hair, black hair, dark brown hair, you can like really get creative with the shades that you make. And you can even add the cassia to the redder hennas, and you can create like a very nice coppery like color that I've seen. Our friend Carolyn has come up with some really nice shades in her hair, and she has like a darker brown auburn color. And a couple times, she's done something and I'm like, oh, that looks really nice. And so anyway, if you're into that, you can totally like get creative. And yeah, it's not harmful at all for your hair. It's like the opposite. It seriously takes it to another level. And for a while there, when I did my hair video, I was talking about this, but like for a little while there over the winter, and I know why, is because I was drinking hella coffee this winter. Admittedly, I got back on the coffee train, but like in a way, and I wasn't drinking more than 1 cup a day, but I was drinking it every day. And for me, that's too much. Like even I think my body type or my blood type, even though I was a barista for like 11 years and I drank it pretty much every day for that long, I think it wasn't like doing my body any good. I think there's some people that can drink it and it doesn't really affect them that much. I can have it every once in a while now and it's cool, but I know that I was drinking it too much over the winter and my hair was really starting to thin, and I know that also because coffee depletes your minerals, and I talked about that in the hair video. But I was like, oh dude, like don't do this. You can't do that, even though coffee's my comfort. Like it's totally a comfort thing for me. So that was one of the reasons why I drink a lot of it this winter, because we had a really long winter. It was a cold, snowy winter, and I was just working through like some emotional stuff. And so I went to coffee. And anyway, we don't have to talk about all that, but it can in some people like deplete your minerals enough where your hair can start to thin, your nails will start to become brittle and stuff like that. So just something to be aware of, and everybody's different, so I just know for me and my body type and whatever is going on, it doesn't do very well if I'm doing that. And so anyway, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, yes, she's saying, Mary Beth is saying it totally covers the gray. It does. And the cassia can help that too. I just started using another herb. Maybe I can find it on the Henna Souk is a really great company that has all the powders and it's all organic and stuff. It's like called Brahmi powder, I think. And that's specifically for scalp health, like for people who have maybe dandruff or if an itchy scalp or whatever, but it can also help to cover the gray a little bit more. And then it's really great for thickening the hair. So yeah, that's another one that's really great. Billing Tangno. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. What's up, dude? Nice to see you. I'm really glad that me and Mary Beth came together as well. Lee, thank you again for introducing us in your own way. Like you just put her on my radar, and I was like, nice. So yeah, thanks. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Super stoked. Let's see what else. Yeah, cool. Well, hey, I mean, I think we did a really great hang sesh, guys, and it's been nice talking with you. Sometimes, it's really nice doing these types of streams because I feel like I'm hanging out with you more, and I'm a hanger. I like to chill. I like to do smoke circles. I like to do smoke sessions, and it's fun to kind of do a smoke sesh. We should do that sometime actually, just actually do a smoke sesh. Um, I thought about that today. I did. I thought about maybe I'll do a smoke sesh. And I was like, maybe I'll save it for something else. But doing a smoke circle, that's what I like. So I love hanging. I love chilling. And I love talking with people and hearing what people are up to. And so I feel honored to be able to do that with you guys, even though we're on the internets. So that's been really cool. And if I'll just do a last call, if anybody has any questions or they thought of something, or if I missed something, I can cruise through. Actually, I'll just cruise through really quick and see if anybody else has any questions. And if not, totally cool. I planned that this was just going to go as long as it went, and it's not a big deal. So, I highly recommend, if you guys are into the hair thing, check out Henna Souk. I'm going to get that link right now. They are awesome. They're a little bit spendy. I will admit it's kind of expensive, but I use less than what they call for. I'll just say that. They'll say, like, if you buy, I think it's like a 3.5-ounce bag of cassia, I don't use the whole bag. They recommend you use the whole bag. I have long hair, as you can see. My hair is a little bit on the thinner side, though, so I can get away with like doing half of it. But I also add like fenugreek. There's another Ayurvedic herb called alma that I add to that with the cassia. And then you can also get like aloe vera powder, or you can just use the liquid. So I do like a combination of things. And then when you do that, it stretches it out. So, but I'm going to put their website up on these or put it in the chat, because all of their stuff is really great. Oh, what's up, Artist Seer? How are you? Glad to see you, Miri. Yep. I like hanging with you all in person is my fave. Yep, me too. In person is my preference as well. But here we are on the internet. It's how it goes. So I put the link to Henna Souk in the chat. I'm going to throw it up here on the screen too. This is the company that our friend Carolyn turned me on to. And their stuff is wonderful. Like I said, it's super high quality and it's all organic. I think they're out of, I don't remember, somewhere in the Midwest, if I remember correctly. But yeah, super great. Check them out. Highly recommend it. They also sell shampoo bars. They also sell like they call it like a co-wash, which I've never bought anything but their henna stuff. So I can't speak for any of their other stuff. I can speak for their henna because I've also bought cassia off of Amazon, organic cassia, and dude, the Henna Souk was better. So, and I literally saved like $2. So it was just like, well, I'll try this one and see, whatever. But I totally could tell a difference. I could tell a difference after I even washed it out. Like it didn't come out as cleanly or whatever. So, just like you're investing in yourself. So I always remind myself of that. If you have to spend a couple extra dollars on something, usually it's worth it. So you can look at it that way. And that's nice. Another thing you can add to henna, and what I do, and I have blonde hair, but hibiscus. Hibiscus is wonderful for the hair, but it can also enhance if you are using red henna, just brew hibiscus tea and actually use the tea as your hot liquid that you use to mix your mixture with. And it's really wonderful. So you're getting the benefits from the hibiscus, which is very astringent. So it's going to help with the scalp too and like make things tighter, like tighten the hair follicles and all that lovely stuff that needs to happen when you want to strengthen your hair. You got to start at the scalp, but you also have to start with what you put in your body. So don't forget that. Yeah, hibiscus is another great thing. They sell hibiscus powder, but I just buy hibiscus. I actually just buy it at the Mexican grocery store that's not too far from us in Hood River, and I brew it as tea, and then I add it to the henna, and then you have hibiscus tea you can drink, and then you can use it in your hair. You can just use hibiscus tea as an actual rinse too. Tea rinses are wonderful. Black tea is great too because there's tannins, again, tightening, strengthening, just like tightening the scalp is really wonderful. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions, so that's cool. But yeah, let's wrap it up. And as always, I've got slides if you want to hang around. For anyone who wants to hang around and see some slides and get a few more updates about stuff, feel free. As always, for people who need to take off or want to take off, lovely hanging, lovely chatting. Thanks as always for being here and hanging and sharing. Oh, okay. So it wasn't Mary that sent us the salve. It was Amy Mesner. Sorry, Amy. If you're listening, I'm so sorry. Amy Mesner sent us lovely gifts, and she sent us. She was the one that sent me the salve from Invoke at Christie's shop. Sorry, Amy. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sure I'm forgiven. Hopefully, if not, oh, it's Amy. Amy Messner sent us those things. So up on the screen, you see my patrons. As always, as I said in the beginning, so freaking grateful for you guys, all of y'all. It just means so much. Thank you, Mary Beth. Great hanging out with you as always. You're welcome, my Cherie. Thanks for being here as well. We got Chance, we have Binna, we have Inland Sea, Liam, Amy Messner, lovely gifts. Thank you again. Miriam Hank, Jenny G, Erica Rodriguez, Moonlander. What's up, Dave? Mary, Catherine, Logan, Lily, Debbie, Natasha, Mary Beth, and Nausicaa. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Really appreciate you guys. Anyone who wants to jump over to Patreon with us, patreon.com/thehealinghome, brainstorming more offerings for patrons, more exclusive stuff. So I'm always thinking about stuff, and we will see what comes down the pipeline with that. Next week's show, Dr. Elderberry. For people who are not familiar with Dr. Elderberry, I highly recommend, if you're on Instagram, just type in Dr. Elderberry. Her real name is Elderberry. And she is wonderful. I really like her style of herbalism. I like her view on health. I like her view on emotional health. She is a clinical herbalist. She's a practicing herbalist. She's a homeopathic herbalist. So she's working a lot with homeopathics and emotional health. And that is one of my favorite things to work with herbs. So she's doing the same. I don't have so much experience with homeopathy. I know what it is. I use homeopathics myself, but I don't use that in my practice, but she does. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into her story. We're going to get into what she does as a practicing herbalist. It's going to be wonderful. Next week, Tuesday on July 18th at 4 p.m., we will have Dr. Elderberry. And I scheduled this interview probably like maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And, she was moving and all that stuff. So very, very excited to talk with her. I sense a very nice conversation coming on between her and I. So that'll be fun. The next full moon offering comes out on August 1st, and August has two full moons. So we're going to have one full moon offering on the 1st, and then we're also going to have one on the 31st. And it's going to be a blue moon on the 31st. So 2 full moons means a blue moon. 2 full moons in 1 month is a blue moon. There's also a true blue moon and a not true blue moon. And you can read that about that on my blog if you want to learn more about that. I did a whole article about that last year. I think last year or the year before, I think the difference between a blue moon, like the commercialized blue moon versus a true blue moon. There is a difference. So check that out if you're looking into, or if you want to learn more about that. Current full moon offering right now is my fresh St. John's wort tincture and anointing oil set. This stuff is great. It's very, very special red medicine made with the fresh St. John's wort, as you see, as I just explained. But yeah, the St. John's wort was grown in our garden. So it was grown with all the same love, intention, fertilizers, all the lovely organic stuff we're putting into the garden. So it was seriously the biggest St. John's wort plant I've ever worked with. Super tall. You can actually see the video of it on my YouTube. Like you can actually see the actual plant that this medicine that you're seeing on the screen comes from. And also you can read about it and see the video on my newsletter. So you can sign up for my newsletter and you can read that. You can go to my website, go to the newsletter tab, which is michelleshealinghome.com. Go to the newsletter tab, scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on issue 34. And you'll be able to read all about the St. John's wort offering that I have this month, as well as watch that video. And yeah, it's a good one. So I just go through like the uses of St. John's wort, some of the folklore about it, and the way I like to use it. So check that out if you're more interested in that. On the screen here is my St. John's wort, my St. John's wort tincture and an oil set is up there, but also the rest of the things I have right now. There are things that I am working on right now, new products. I'm also reformulating my deodorant, so that's really exciting. And yeah, so new things are coming down the pipeline, which I'm really stoked about. But right now, St. John's wort, CBD cannabis root, and white willow bark salve. I still have one left of my CBD and St. John's wort massage and body oil. That's freaking wonderful. Really love that oil. I've got one jar of my current deodorant left. And then I've got mugwort, goldenrod, lemon balm, and nettle tincture available. Also, as I've said before, custom bulk orders are available for people. I've done salves that way, soaps that way. Those two are really great bulk orders. Deodorant would be another great item that you could do bulk. Also, infused oils would be a really great one, and elderberry syrup, which will be coming soon because the elderberry tree has definitely been producing a lot of blossoms this year. So we're going to have lots of berries. So we'll be having elderberry. I see you guys talking about elderberry going on right now. So in the chat, yeah. So bulk stuff, if you're interested, email me, michelleshealinghome@gmail.com for orders, for questions, for inquiries. That's the best way to get a hold of me. michelleshealinghome.com for my blog, newsletter, sign up, all of those things. You can find that on my website. Consultation information is there as well, which I have 2 consultations this week. Super excited that more people are reaching out about consultations and literally just asking me the question, are you comfortable working with this? And if I am, I'll say yes. And if I'm not, I'll say no. And then we'll go from there. So you can reach out to me if you're looking for that. You can call or text me on my Google Voice number, which is 503-568-1569. Just a preface with the Google Voice. It sometimes comes to my email. And so sometimes it gets wonky with like replying. So be patient with me if you do that. If you decide to text me, I will get back to you. But I just want you to know it's my Google Voice number. So it's like kind of hooked up to my email. So sometimes email is better. I just want to give people an option with a phone number because some people like that better. Last Thursday, every Thursday, as you know, still the summer of love, baby. So this week, we have not decided yet what we're going to target or what we're going to hone in on. But we're going to have a powwow tonight and talk about that and figure all that stuff out. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun with the summer of love. And I'm currently rereading Neil Sanders' book, The Only Thing Real Is Now, or something like that is the title. Neil Sanders is another one on my list that I want to get on, The Healing Home. But I started rereading that over our trip. And boy, oh boy, I've been reminded of so many little details about the Manson saga that are just, wow. It's so obvious that it's a mob, mafia, CIA, mind control, Scientology operation. It is Scientology is all up in that shit, man. It's crazy. And yeah, dude, Neil Sanders, he does such a good job breaking all of it down. So I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm going to say it on last Thursday. I'm going to bring that book in and say, if you are into Manson, if you want to know more, if you want to know more about like the actual, probably more of like probably what happened and not so much of the fluff, dude, Neil Sanders, got to read it. And you got to read Tim O'Neill's Chaos, those two books. What's up, Jenny G? Good to see you, my lady. All right. So, yes, last Thursday and Symbolic Studies, my friends. Check out symbolicstudies.com if you haven't already, and keep up with Mario as well. He has been working on. He is starting a podcast as well. He did his first recorded episode a few weeks ago, and he was literally listening to it on the plane and writing down his editing notes and all that stuff. So I get the sense that that will probably drop within the next week or so. And he's just going to kind of continue on that route with his show. So symbolicstudies.com, as always, for Mario stuff. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on TikTok, sort of. He's not really on there anymore because they censor him way too much on TikTok. But YouTube, you know, a lot of you here listening know where to find Mario, but just a reminder, he's out there. And that's me, the Healing Home. So yes, my friends, thank you so much again for chilling and hanging and having a sesh with me. This was really great. I hope you guys are having good weather. It cooled off over here. It's really nice. I mean, when we came back, it's just like so glorious right now. And I'm just loving it. Really grateful that the smoke has cleared. And yeah, dude. So it's great. But anyway, so thanks again, guys. Really looking forward to next week's show with Dr. Elderberry. So come and hang out with us. And then the following week, I've got. I'm not gonna tell you yet. I'm not gonna tell you. You'll have to find out. Just listen next week, or even if you can't listen next week, you'll find out who I've got coming up after Dr. Elderberry. And then we'll already be in August after that week. Wow, holy moly! All right, the wheel in the sky keeps on turning. You guys stay solid, and I will see you guys real soon. Talk to you, and much love. Have a great night. Later.